Today we have Richard Curran on the show. He is CEO at Expo Convention Contractors. Richard, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries at all. So, Richard, in this show, we like to just dive right into it. So, I'm going to give it to you, and I would love to hear for you to tell the audience a little bit about your business, who you are, what you do, and why should we care?
Sure. Um, Expo Convention Contractors, we're a contractor in the trade show and convention live events industry. So basically, we are the people that build the marketplace that people attend. So where the buyers and sellers come together, we build those environments and we make those connection points happen.
Very cool. Very cool. So how'd you get involved in that space? That seems very unique and a big space. Lots of conventions happen.
Yeah, exactly. And we're very behind the scenes type of supplier where, most people go to a convention center or a hotel and they attend a conference and they just assume that the building is the one that put it together.
Hmm.
Reality is there's a contractor like us who puts a big warehouse full of stuff that we come and we build. And for me, well, I literally was born into it. I'm actually a second generation. My father did it his whole life. He retired some years ago, and I was able to take the helm and continue to grow the company.
That's cool. So basically, anytime somebody throws a big convention in a big city, you guys are the ones that kind of power that.
Yeah, me and some of my other competitors throughout the country. Yeah, we're the ones. So like for us, we have 5 locations throughout, well, 4 in the US and one in Latin America, and we warehouse all the actual stuff. So you have thousands of tables, we have miles of pipe and drape, and we have literally almost 2 million square feet of carpet. So all
Yeah.
those things that get changed over in those buildings, that's the stuff that the contractors like Expo do.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it because myself and I'm sure many people who are listening have obviously attended a large conference or convention of some sort, and when you go to it, your headspace is just attending a trade show or attending booths of people that are already there. But if you sort of take a step back and look, when you're hosting a large convention, I don't know, there might be 5,000 people, there might be 20,000
Yeah.
people. They're large size. There's probably so much work that goes into actually making sure that the infrastructure is set up to help someone run a convention like that.
Absolutely.
It's like that's what happens in behind the scenes that nobody thinks about. It's one of those industries.
Exactly.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. We're building a small city within a very short period of time. So yeah, if you think about it, like when you think about a way this, like you picture a downtown and you are driving down the street or even walking and you just have literally store after store after store. Well, we're recreating that marketplace and that environment on a show floor where you have your aisleways, you're walking and it's just business after business that you can, in an expedited manner, visit a whole bunch of them that are the
Yeah.
suppliers that you need as an attendee. So.
Wow, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. I like the analogy of literally building a city.
Yeah, and we'll typically a cycle will be a few days to build up. Like there would be a 2 to 3 days where we would go in and build an infrastructure, and then 2 to 3 days that the exhibitors come and set up their stand and like finalize things, and we would assist with that as well. But and then you have a show that opens, and then it's on for 3, 4, or 5 days, and then closes down, and we tear everything out, and it's gone. And they call it a clean floor to clean floor policy. So
Yeah.
the building is leasing out that space to the client. The client's hiring us. We got to leave it the way we found it.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It sounds like there's a lot that goes into it. So, I guess tell us what's the one thing that clients rave about when they work with you guys.
Well, it is it. I would say the we are still small enough to be personable and be that small company mentality, but we're large enough to do exceptional things and build large scale trade shows and events. So
Hmm.
the connection that we make with our customers and the ability to really support them like beyond an expectation of just a random supplier is really where we shine. There's products out there that we use that other people can buy as well. But the
Yeah.
way that our team and our culture melds with the other customers and stuff, that's really our sweet spot. We've really leaned in on a culture of accountability And
Mhm.
that's accountability to ourselves, to our clients, and to each other. And that's really helped build our connections with our customers.
That's cool. That's cool. Could you tell us about maybe a large convention that you guys participated in, or maybe like a dream client?
Sure.
Like what made that sort of click?
Sure. Like, well, one of the largest boat shows in the United States is held right here in Miami. And that's one of our clients. And, they have roughly 130,000 people that attend that event. And the campus size it takes up probably 2 to 2.5 million square feet of campus that it's
Mm,
built across. And, so there's so many different layers and interactions, and it uses every square inch of the convention center, their surrounding space, down about a mile down the road on the water, marina, other temporary structures built out. So all of these layers of that need to happen in sequence because you have
mhm.
infrastructure build, you have HVAC, you have power that needs to go down. Then we're building on top of it, and then we're building the decor on top of that, and then we're doing all the finishes and whatnot and getting it ready for the event. So all of that organization and that layering, it has to happen perfect and fast.
Right. That's crazy. So I think you said 130,000 people?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So to run an event that size, like how many people actually participate from your side to set something up like that?
Yeah, the team from Expo, we probably have from our permanent personnel team probably about 30, and then we have our what most towns' labor source is from different unions throughout. So
Yeah.
there's trade unions that support trade shows, and the biggest advantage of having a trade union supporting the industry is I can say, hey, I need 400 workers next week, and they can send 400 workers that can just go to work. I don't need
Yeah.
training. I don't need to teach a bunch of people. I can hand out work orders. So the speed in which we're building things and tearing it down, there's no time for training.
Of
So
course.
that's where having a consistent workforce that just jumps around and builds trade shows is so important and crucial. And so that's the temporary labor force that are still employees of Expo, but they would be the workers, the builders. And that, I mean, we get upwards around 400 workers to do that. Then we have around 30 people that would be in the management side that disperse amongst the different sections. And we really piecemeal the sections out to create small shows within the large show. That way
Right.
makes the project go smoother.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, as you're talking, my brain is spinning. There's so much that goes into it. You got to hire the contractors, you got your own staff, you got to make sure
Yeah.
everything goes smoothly.
Yeah, and in that team that we have of our 30, also you have like our client and the boat show being in formal markets. They'll send probably about 50 of their own people that are
Mhm.
spread throughout all the locations that have to work with us and work with the customers that they're, selling the space to and supplying that marketplace to.
Yeah, that's insane. Good on you. Good on you. Sounds like a lot goes into it. So I'm sure not everything goes super smooth all the time. So
Of course it does.
if you could wave like a magic wand, what's that one thing that you would try to fix in your business?
Yeah, and one of the things about the event world is the, for one, I mean, there's so many different components that have outside influences, such as, when we talk about the boat show, we have about 500 boats that need to be brought in and brought and placed. Now you
Mhm.
have of those 500, each company has a handful. So let's call it you have 125 different companies bringing boats, all using different transportation companies or using them themselves. So when you have 100 plus boats coming in, plus 100 plus shipments of the freight and the gear that they're going to decorate with, you have excess of 2 to 300 tractors coming in.
Yeah.
Coordinating that, we have no control over them getting there, but we have to coordinate once they're there.
Right.
So, the magic wand of customer transportation companies hitting their targets. would
Yeah.
make everything perfect. But, things happen. You have traffic, you have something coming cross
There's
country,
always something that happens. Every day there's
always
something that
something.
happens.
Yeah. And that's, I think, what the secret sauce of being a good contractor is being able to not just deal with that, but also how do you navigate around those problems and where, when we talk about, maybe the position of a boat that's late when you need to build behind it, what are we going to do? We can't just stop all production. We have to think about how we're going to get that boat in once we continue on. So that would be one example. We even do shows within hotels. So
Mhm.
hotels have ballrooms that hold conventions and meetings. Navigating getting 100,000 pounds of freight through a small elevator up into a ballroom and built out.
Yeah.
And then we're battling with they have their banquet stuff and they have deliveries of their own. So there's always that kind of horse trading going on, getting shipments and deliveries in. So it's
Yeah, 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 yeah.
never a dull moment.
Yeah, and people probably is one of the hardest things because there's so many and different types of people. Managing
Yep.
those personalities on a job sounds hard.
Yeah, and then also you have client personalities. You have some clients that really are detailed and give you everything, and then some clients that just kind of want you to do it all and take care of it. And
Yeah.
then the spectrum is all over. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So speaking about clients, I guess tell us a little bit about like your process, your sales process.
sure,
How do people find you? How does the lead find you? How do they turn into a customer? What does your process look like there?
sure. So one of the things is probably the most volume would come through lead venue referral.
Hmm.
When you align yourself with the actual venues that they're happening and you prove to be a good partner and you take care of the building and you follow the rules, they want you to keep working there.
Yeah.
So as customers come in and spec out a site visit and think about having an event there, they're going to recommend who takes care of their building.
Hmm.
So, that would be one avenue. Another one is relationships through convention and visitors bureaus, where they're talking with groups that are coming to town and aligning yourself with them and being top of mind.
Right.
You know,
Right.
third is the actual what we call independent show organizers that are like basically like an ownership group that has multiple shows,
Right.
creating partnerships with them and then being able to because they may have 100 shows in the US and they may not all make sense business wise for one vendor to do. Different geography, different regions. Maybe it costs a lot for me to get equipment to Indianapolis,
Yeah.
and so there's navigating through, does the business make sense, and do they trust you? And one of the things that, and I mentioned before we started about how we're in the live events business, and one thing that's proven true over COVID is people want to do business with people they like and they know. And it's very
Yeah.
hard to build relationships through Zoom.
Hmm.
So that's why the industry of trade show and conventions and the marketplace came back with a boom because when it was
Hmm.
not there and available, everybody missed
Right.
it deeply. So people want the human connection.
It's so crazy when you think about that, Richard, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think the advantage post COVID is literally that in real life connection with
Yes.
people. It's funny. My wife and I were at a restaurant this past weekend, and we were sitting next to these people who were like in their early 20s.
Mhm.
And they were there's four of them having nice pizza on a patio. They were just on their phones. They did not
Yeah.
say a word to one another. And you think about it in the business world, you're absolutely right, right? Like everything, there was this fast shift, do Zoom meetings, do everything digital. But it's crazy how 5 years later, post COVID, I'm finding a lot of people that I'm talking to, they want to throw in-person events. They
Yeah.
want to go to conferences. They want to
Yeah.
attend conventions and things of that nature. Real life is coming back in a big way.
Yeah. But there's also a difference in the way that it looks in terms of just that specific example. You have a generation of built that are introverted more so than before,
Hmm.
and then you have a dependency on a device and also that buffer of I can wait to say the perfect thing versus having an in-person conversation where
Yeah.
you have to keep
On the
communicating.
spot. You have to be on the spot.
So how do we create an environment that makes
Mm.
people comfortable? And that's the
Mhm.
challenge that we're working with in our industry now is like building environments that can basically nurture those connections and make people comfortable and make
Yeah.
people let their guard down and have conversations and also keep their attention away from a phone. Maybe if you have a welcoming and engaging environment, people's
Yeah.
less likely to go to the bench that's in the corner and jump on their phone. So
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, and create that atmosphere while people are alive at the convention and whatnot. So, do you, in terms of that, it sounds like a lot of referrals and a lot of business sort of comes through established relationships and stuff. Do you guys do any sort of broad-based advertising? Is there a target market that you would do any sort of like campaigns towards, whether that's social, digital, billboards, or whatever it might be to get in front of customers?
yeah, all the above. I mean, we have pipelines of just industry specific people that use suppliers like us. You
Hmm.
know, being that it is somewhat of a finite customer base,
Yeah.
there's only so many show organizers and venues that are out there. It's not the typical guerrilla marketing type of campaigns,
Hmm.
very specific target marketing. Also, we're seeing a lot of traction. Just like I have a great social media team. Like they've been producing really great content, and kudos to them because I would say within the past 5 years, taken it from like here to here. And
Yeah.
I get compliments out at industry events about like how good our social is and the stuff that they're putting out and the creative. And what it is it's not just, hey, we just built the show and here's a photo of the entrance. No,
Yeah.
we're telling the story. We're talking about the people. Today's post was a post about our design team and kind of like
Yeah.
talking about their process and letting people kind of peek inside of the way that the operation is here and how we go through it. And I mentioned, our secret sauce is our people, and we want to showcase that. We want to give a little context as to why we think that. So
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why you're on this podcast too. What happens under the hood?
yeah, exactly.
It's very interesting how companies are run now too, because you nailed it, right? People want to know what's happening under the hood, what's happening at companies internally, and it attaches people to specific organizations and whatnot. Back in the day, that was a complete no-no. Everything was a deep, dark secret. You did not want
Yeah,
to share that. I'm sure you come from a generational type business. I'm sure how it was your father who ran the business was
yeah.
very different than how you're on camera and sharing everything that you guys are sort of doing now.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. It was my father. He had started the company. Well, he had actually, because he had done it his whole life, he was working for one company, and in
Mm.
'95 had the opportunity to buy him out to then create Expo, and
Okay.
that's when it started. And then my mother ended up working as bookkeeping and being, as it's grown, became the CFO, and it was so both of them being of a generation where you keep your cards close to you. And then I mentioned that we just had our all hands meeting, company meeting today.
Mm.
And for me, we 212 people logged in between all the different offices and about 120 here on site in Miami, and we're sharing the books. We're talking about where we're at. We're talking about our wins and losses fiscally, throughout the year, and what are we looking at and where are we trending,
Yeah.
and being transparent to everybody. And I think that it goes, it's way deeper of a connection with the employees
Hmm.
because they're feeling more of a sense of ownership. And when they know, okay, well, this quarter is strong and this quarter is going to be lighter, what can I do to help?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
giving them the opportunity to participate in the
Yeah.
growth and success.
Yeah. That accountability, I think that transparency gets them to kind of buy in more. And I think that's the form of that's your leadership, right? That's the form of leadership that I think attracts the type of people that you want to kind of build and work together as a team with you, essentially. I think that transparency is super important in 2025 for people of all ages, in all honesty.
Yeah, and I think that why throughout my evolution into leadership, I realize how important that is also the speed of which information is out there.
Mhm.
So I know that in 20, so I was, after high school, I went to the Marine Corps, spent 4 years going around the world, and I came out and came back to business here in 2000.
Yeah.
My early part of my career, I would say the first 10 years, uh, if I asked the question, I would get the answer on that. But as far as like, financials and whatnot, but I didn't even know what I was supposed to be looking for. And now the access to information where, all the employees from everybody from the warehouse personnel to, designers are listening to podcasts and seeing, snippets on TikTok about business.
Yeah.
So people have a generalized more comfortability talking about business, whether or not, how it
Way
applies or
more,
whatever,
way more.
they just have access to it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that it's important for me to share what we're doing and how we're doing with them so they can kind of put two and two together and not just wonder.
Yeah, yeah. How, speaking about access to information, AI is also a big access to information, right?
Yeah.
And we're an AI company. We talk to a lot of customers about AI all day, every day. So our audience loves to hear how existing businesses and small to medium-sized business. It sounds like you have what, 220 people or so, roughly?
Roughly, yeah,
Yeah.
roughly.
So, it's a decent sized sort of business. I'd love for you to share a couple of words, Richard, that how are you
Sure.
thinking about AI? Have you guys started implementing it? Are you guys thinking about it? How does someone in your seat and in your industry think about AI abroad?
Yeah. We actually use AI in many different layers throughout the business. So, kind of the general practice that everybody does or should be doing, where you're writing professional communication or emails, formatting, making sure it sounds clear and concise. Some of the other things are where we'll use it on like data comparison. So I'll give you an example. When we do deal with like large lists of all the exhibitors that will be exhibiting in a show, and
Hmm.
then we'll have clients just send us a new list that
Hmm.
might have 1,000 entries with updates, and here's the newest list, and we don't know the
Yeah.
so if we
Yeah.
take two lists, put it in ChatGPT and say, give me the, what's the difference between these two?
Yeah.
It's speeding up that process. You're getting rid of the manual, because it's like, yes, the client's giving you the data, but they're kind of, putting more work on you. And
Yes.
again, they're the client, so you can't say spit it back and say that. So it's helping us speed up, simple processes like that. One of the other things on the, let's say, cost savings, we're using it for labor hour cost and comparisons to optimize production on an event. We can look at
Yeah.
what we spent this year and what we spent the year before and find out where we can pick up optimizations and usage of the labor force.
That's
Because
cool.
that's the most expensive function of when we're producing an event is the
Yeah.
manpower. Uh,
Resource planning and stuff, basically.
yeah, and then at a strategic level, myself and a lot of my E team and my management level, we urge them to use it for strategic planning and internal departmental planning.
Hmm.
And one thing that part of our accountability program here is we have something that we call OKRs, which are objectives and key results, but we do a measuring tool, and we make sure the OKRs are in alignment with the company directives.
Yeah.
And weekly at their own internal meetings, they go through their OKRs and say if they're on plan, if they're not up there or off plan, and they're actually self self-reporting.
Yeah.
So that's part of our open and accountability is self-reporting in front of your peers.
Yeah.
So if you're falling behind, there's something obvious, and it can red flag the manager, and then you can go say, hey, what's going on? So
Yeah.
developing those OKRs is something that's great because we'll do a team SWOT analysis, take the data from the SWOT analysis from their personal departmental meeting,
Yeah.
and then develop OKRs with there. So
That's cool.
yeah, and then also on the generation of like visuals. So we have
Yeah.
a whole design team, and what we can do is when we talk to a customer, we can take information of what they're giving us, put in prompts, in stuff like Midjourney or even Sora or whatever, and
Yeah.
um, and use it to create at least concepts.
Yep. Yep.
We always have to redraw for actuals because we're using structural pieces,
Yeah.
but we can speed up the
The
process of sales.
wireframing stage you could speed up
Yeah.
essentially.
So like we'll use a specific structure to build out the booths. But
Yeah.
if you don't really care what the inside looks like and I just need to make it look pretty for you, I can go through a design concept and say, and really shorten that time of like if you verbalize to me and then I pass that on to a designer, and then he or she has to interpret, and then
Yeah.
they come back with a drawing, and you're like, that's not what I was saying at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
shortening that sales cycle time of like the design and concept, into closure. AI has helped us a lot developing visuals.
Absolutely. No, I'm super glad to hear you're using it in like three or four functions. And I think, my advice to anybody who comes on the show is as a leader, you should be leveraging AI in every area. It's
Yeah,
it's the secret weapon.
yeah,
It's like it's like if you got on the internet in the 95,
yeah,
right? You just had an advantage. Every business is digitized in some way,
yeah,
shape, or form. So AI is that you should be leveraging AI to find efficiencies everywhere, whether that's marketing and sales, whether that's some of the operational resource planning stuff that you were sort of
yeah.
talking about. So good on you for doing that, and I highly encourage. It's good to hear that your executive team is implementing that with OKRs and such like that
Yeah.
on a weekly basis. So that's great.
Yeah, and right now we're playing around with how we can use like Clay and our B2B with our refining and finding customer base. So
Mm-hmm.
right now that's kind of in the works. So
Cool, cool, very good. So you mentioned a little bit about the Marine, right? You were part
yeah,
of the Marine Corps for a little bit, and then I think 4 years is what you sort of
yeah,
mentioned. How was that experience? What did you learn from that, and what did you bring
yeah,
to apply as now the CEO of a very successful business here?
yeah. I mean, full disclosure, out of high school, I was not college bound. I had a lot of fun in high school.
Yeah,
And I knew personally that if I hung around and really tried to just go to junior college, it wasn't going to go well. So
yeah,
I said, I got to get out of town. And, um, but because I'm someone who likes a challenge, I said, which one's the hardest? The Marine Corps. All right, I'm going.
yeah.
So I chose the Marine Corps and I went all over the world. But one thing that I loved about the Marine Corps was, for one, the way that they look after each other.
Mm,
And whenever from the first moment that you're in boot camp, they're developing leadership structure all the way
mhm,
down from every four people, and then they're
mhm,
rotating and they're making someone else in charge, and they're making you understand that you're responsible for those people and you're responsible for what happens. And then
mhm,
even it layers up, and then you got like a fire team to a squad to a platoon, and then all those different layers. And then after like boot camp, and then into going to like my designated job, I went into the aviation side. Same thing, got into squadron level. And from the very first moment you're there, you get in, and then it's like, all right, you're in charge of that thing there. And then you show that you can prove that you can do that. All right, now you're in charge of this small group of guys here. And
yeah,
then you're in charge of there. So very fast it taught leadership and also accountability back then, because it was like when something got messed up under your watch, you were the one responsible. So making
yeah,
sure that your team is performing it well.
yeah,
So coming out of that very structured environment and then coming to like the civilian life was a little difficult at first.
yeah. Because
Was
you learn all these like skills that you want to put into action,
well,
but it's
it's
hard to.
yeah, but also more so like I was a 22, I was a work center supervisor. I had about 15 Marines underneath me. And I would come out of a maintenance meeting and I'd say, okay, we need to do this and this and this and this. And people are jumping and running while I'm talking.
Yeah,
And I come out to the real world and I get to a show site and I'm 22 still. And I have a group of 50-year-old men. And I'm like, all right, guys, we're going to do this, 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 this. And they're
yeah.
all kind of still standing
What are
there.
you doing?
Yeah. So then it's like, all right, I got to figure out how to do this thing. So it took some time to find my groove and work with the people, because I came from the production side before, going into management
Yeah.
and navigating around that. So, but going back to like what I talked about, people really looking out for each other, and that's one of the goals. Is I like when I was very young, and we were actually on an aircraft carrier going all around the world, and I'll
Mm,
never forget this. I had the sergeant major that was the highest enlisted person in our unit. She was one of the few female sergeant majors, and she was incredibly amazing and motivating leader and tough. But we would pull into port, and the Navy it was a Navy ship. You got 5,000 Navy and we got 500 Marines on board.
yeah. Yeah.
So as we pull into port, really cool place. We're all going to be able to get off the ship for a couple days and explore. And they had a thing where they would start announcing the people to get off the ship from the highest rank all the way down to the lowest.
Yeah.
And what that means is all the high ranking officers get to leave before the lowest ranking enlisted.
Yeah.
And our sergeant major said, no Marine leaves until every Marine can leave.
Mm.
So she said, no one high ranking is going to step off until we can all step off.
Yeah.
And that's saying like, we're not going to play the game of, being,
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
with the perks with the lid. It's like, so things like that where, walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Principles and standards matter.
Yeah.
Principles and
Yeah.
standards
And
matter.
leadership by example.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that story, Richard. That was,
totally.
I think it's always nice to get, the background about what made you who you are today, and for the people to hear that. So, we're getting close to the end of the episode here, Richard. We always like to do these fire round questions. So there's three of
Sure.
them. I'd love for you to sort of answer them in, one sentence or less if possible.
Okay.
So let's get right to it. Tell us about a book that you might have read that might have made the biggest impact in your life.
Oh man. One of the ones it was went for a blank. Well, Jocko Willink has Extreme Ownership. That's a great one. That comes to mind. There was Lessons of the Bullfrog. That's one of the greatest ones. It's a short read. It's William McCraven, the
Cool.
famous Make Your Bed Every Day
Yeah,
commencement speech. His book is easy read, but really, really great.
got it. What's it called again? Sorry, Leap of the
Lessons of
Bullfrog.
the from the Bullfrog.
Lessons of the Bullfrog. Cool. I'll try. I'll
Yeah.
check that one out. What's the one word that defines your leadership style?
Mm, uh, one word. Oof. Um, Hopefully it's motivating.
Motivating. Okay. I like that. Last question. If you were to be an animal, what animal would you be and why?
A lion.
Why?
I'm very protective. I'm protective of my family. I'm protective of my people. I keep talking about culture, and I'm protective of my house, and I don't we won't hire someone just because of their skill or their clout. They have to be a fit for Expo and the family that we've built. And we
Hmm.
even do team interviews of people of different levels. It's not just like senior people that would be in contact. So we want people to choose people to work with us that are a good fit for us.
That's
So
awesome. That's awesome. So, Richard, that is fantastic. Any signing off words from your end? Where do people find you? How can they learn more about Expo?
sure. ExpoCCI.com and Expo CCI on socials. Our Instagram, like I said, I love what my team puts out, and as well as on LinkedIn. I actually have a podcast where I interview people within the industry, and it's called Behind the Drapes. And it's funny you made that reference earlier, behind the drape. So specifically because we have drapes in our industry, and we
Yeah,
want to learn about the people that are producing the events. So I interview show organizers and clients about their journey and how they got to leadership where they are. So we talk a lot about, their mentors and things like that too. So Behind the Drapes on YouTube.
awesome. Well, thank you everybody for watching. This is the Speed to Lead Show, 60-second sales secret show where leads turn into revenue before your coffee gets cold. That's the pod. See you all next time. Bye bye.
Thank you.